The lake was calm that morning, sunlight sparkling over the surface like diamonds scattered across blue glass.
Daniel sat on his porch sipping coffee, looking at the small paddleboat tied to his dock.
It wasn't just any boat. It was a memory.
His late father had built it with him years ago, a tradition they shared every summer.
To Daniel, that paddleboat was family. But the HOA didn't see it that way. They saw it as an eyesore.
From the moment he moved into the lakeside community, Karen, the HOA president, had made it her mission to target him.
At first, it was petty: your grass is too long.
Your mailbox doesn't match the neighborhood style. But when she spotted the paddleboat on his dock, her expression hardened. That thing doesn't belong here, she had hissed, wagging her finger at him. Daniel thought it was just more empty threats.
After all, how could anyone have an issue with a harmless paddleboat tied neatly to a private dock?
But something about Karen's tone stuck with him. She had power in the HOA, and worse, she loved showing it off. That evening, as the sun dipped low and Daniel closed up his shed, he noticed Karen walking with two other board members, whispering and pointing at his boat. A chill went through him. Something was coming, and by the next sunrise, Daniel's world and his father's memory would be set on fire.
The acrid smell of smoke jolted Daniel awake.
He raced outside barefoot, heart pounding, and froze at the sight before him.
Flames licked the edges of the small paddleboat, crackling as the wood splintered.
His boat, his father's gift, was engulfed in fire. Neighbors gathered along the shoreline, whispering. Some shook their heads in disbelief, others looked away, not daring to speak. Karen stood proudly with her arms folded, her bright floral blazer practically glowing in the morning sun.
"We warned you," she said coldly. "That boat violated HOA regulations. It had to go." Daniel's throat tightened. "You burned it? That's my property." She smirked. "We had the right.
This neighborhood follows rules.
You should have complied." The firefighters arrived late, almost as if they knew it wasn't urgent.
By the time the flames were out, nothing but charred remains floated near his dock. His chest ached, but he forced himself to stay calm. He couldn't let them see him break. Karen wasn't finished. She pulled out her phone and made a loud, showy call.
"Yes, officer. I need you to come down here. We have a man refusing to follow HOA orders, causing a disturbance." Daniel blinked. She had just destroyed his boat and now she was calling the cops on him?
The crowd murmured, some siding with him, some too afraid of the HOA to speak. As the sound of sirens approached, Daniel knew this wasn't just about a boat. This was about power, and Karen was playing a dangerous game, but she had no idea just how badly it would backfire. Two police cars pulled up, lights flashing against the still water.
Officers stepped out, their faces caught between confusion and irritation.
Daniel stood tall on the dock, arms crossed, while Karen marched toward them, gesturing wildly. "This man is violating community rules," she insisted.
"He refuses to remove dangerous property, he's aggressive, and he's disturbing the peace. He needs to be fined or removed immediately." The officer raised an eyebrow. "What dangerous property?" Karen pointed at the ashes smoldering in the water. "That boat."
The younger officer stifled a laugh.
"Ma'am, that boat looks like it's already gone." Karen's face flushed. "Because it had to be destroyed. The HOA board made a unanimous decision."
Daniel finally spoke, his voice steady but firm. "Officers, that was my private property.
It was on my dock.
No one had the right to touch it, much less set it on fire."
The lead officer frowned. "You're saying the HOA destroyed your personal property?" Karen cut in quickly. "We had authority. This entire lakefront is under HOA regulation." Daniel took a deep breath, the moment he'd been waiting for. "Actually, that's not true.
I own this entire lakefront. The dock, the shore, and yes, the water rights. The HOA has no legal control here." The officers exchanged looks.
Karen froze. For the first time, her confidence faltered, but Daniel wasn't finished. He had proof. And once it came out, Karen's empire of intimidation would start to crumble. Karen's confident smile wavered as Daniel reached into a folder he had brought from his study. He pulled out a stack of neatly kept documents, each stamped and signed years ago when he purchased the property. The police officers leaned closer as Daniel handed them over. "These are the deeds," he explained calmly. "Not just to my house, but to the entire lakefront. My father secured water rights decades ago, and they passed on to me." "This dock?" "Mine." "The shoreline?" "Mine." "And that paddle boat they burned?" "Mine too. The HOA doesn't have jurisdiction here." The lead officer scanned the papers, his brow furrowing. The younger officer nodded slowly, almost impressed. "Everything checks out," he murmured. Karen's face went pale. "This can't be right. The HOA has always enforced the lake rules." Daniel locked eyes with her. "Maybe because no one ever questioned it. But the truth is, you've been trespassing for years. Every picnic, every fishing trip, every HOA event held on this shore. All of it was on land you don't own." The neighbors gasped. Whispers spread quickly. Was it true? Had they all been misled? Karen's voice cracked as she tried to regain control. "No. This is fraud. We'll sue you for lying." The officer closed the folder and looked straight at her. "Actually, ma'am, if what he's saying is accurate and the documents confirm it, you and the HOA may be facing serious consequences. Burning his property could be considered destruction of personal assets." The crowd's murmurs grew louder, now with anger directed at Karen. Her authority, once untouchable, was slipping through her fingers. Daniel stood silently, letting the weight of the truth settle in. For the first time, Karen looked small, cornered, scrambling, and powerless, and Daniel wasn't done exposing her. The real twist was still to come. By the following week, the HOA called an emergency meeting at the community center. The atmosphere buzzed with tension. Nearly every resident showed up, curious and anxious about the rumors that had spread since the fire. Daniel walked in calmly, documents tucked under his arm, while Karen stood at the front, clutching her notes, sweat glistening at her temples. She began with her usual bravado. "This HOA has always protected our neighborhood, and we will not let one resident disrupt order with false claims." But Daniel cut in, his voice steady. "False claims? Or the truth you don't want exposed?" He opened the folder and held up the deeds for all to see. "I own the lakefront. Not the HOA. Every time you charged fees for lake maintenance or fined someone for fishing, you were pocketing money for land you never controlled." The room erupted. Residents whispered angrily, some glaring at Karen, others standing in shock. One man shouted, "You mean we've been paying for nothing?" Karen's hands shook. "Don't listen to him. These papers could be forged." Daniel calmly placed the original county-stamped documents on the table where everyone could see. "These aren't copies. They're official. Anyone is free to verify them." The board members shifted uncomfortably. They had trusted Karen for years, never questioning her authority. Now, they looked guilty, realizing how blindly they had followed her. A woman in the back stood up, her voice trembling. "My husband was fined $500 for fishing with our kids." "Karen, you said it was illegal." "But if Daniel owns the lake, then you lied to all of us." Karen's face crumbled as the crowd turned against her, but Daniel wasn't interested in revenge. He wanted justice. And the next step would ensure Karen's schemes collapsed completely. The HOA's house of cards unraveled faster than anyone expected. Within days, multiple residents filed complaints against Karen and the board. Daniel, calm but determined, worked with his lawyer to compile every fraudulent fine, every false fee, every document that proved the HOA had overstepped its boundaries. Meanwhile, Karen tried desperately to regain control. She went door to door, pleading with neighbors. "He's exaggerating. It's not as bad as it sounds." But people slammed their doors in her face. For years, she had bullied them with threats and fines. Now, her power had evaporated. At the next community meeting, Daniel arrived with an attorney and the county records officer. Together, they laid out the truth.
Karen had knowingly misused HOA funds, collected fees for property that wasn't under their jurisdiction, and illegally authorized the destruction of Daniel's boat. The records officer cleared his throat. Based on these documents, the HOA has no rights to the lakefront or its shoreline. All collected fees tied to the lake may be subject to restitution. The crowd erupted again, but this time in support of Daniel. Applause filled the room. Some even hugged him, thanking him for exposing the truth. Karen's face hardened, but her eyes shimmered with defeat. The board members, once loyal to her, distanced themselves immediately. "We had no idea," one stammered. But Daniel wasn't naive. He knew Karen's downfall wouldn't be complete until the law stepped in. And soon, the very police she had once called on him would return, but not for him.